Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We did start the council meeting this evening at 5:30, and we have been in closed session for half an hour. So we're back in open session at 6 p.m. I would just like to provide from the closed session, the Horizon report. The council received information regarding transit level negotiations. So moving forward. First item up is statutory public meeting. Public meeting and recommendation report, official plan amendment D09-001-2025 and zoning bylaw amendment D14-003-2025, additional residential units. A public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of sections 17, 15, and 17, part 12 of the Planning Act to consider an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment required to implement permissions for additional residential units. The proposed amendments apply to lands within the township that are designated hamlet, rural, and prime agricultural, and for lands within the urban serviced areas. The proposed amendments will permit up to 4 residential units on a property on full municipal services that contain single detached, semi-detached, or street front townhome dwellings. Permissions for 1 additional unit on lands that contain a single detached dwelling in a hamlet, rural, or prime agricultural areas, and is being proposed. Council shall hear in person or by their counsel, solicitor, or agent, any person who claims to be affected by this application. Staff have come forward, so welcome. Do you have some information to share at this time?
Yes, through your worship. It's for the public meeting. Permitting additional residential units is one of the township's initiatives under the Housing Accelerator Fund. This is the second public meeting pertaining to additional residential units as a result of some revisions that were made since the previous public meeting that was held back in July. Overall, the amendments establish the policy framework in the official plan to permit up to 3 additional residential units in the urban serviced areas that contain a single semi or townhome, but one of those units can also be in a detached accessory structure. The official plan is also proposed to be amended to provide a clear differentiation between requirements in the urban serviced area and the 1 additional residential unit that's currently permitted in the official plan today for lands in the rural area. The zoning bylaw amendment implements the official plan policies. It includes various zone standards to regulate the units. So this includes items like lot coverage, parking requirements, and setbacks and servicing requirements. Staff have received a couple comments during the consultation process, and the final proposed amendments did consider those comments. Final revisions were primarily related to reducing setbacks for detached accessory structures and removing a couple of the more restrictive zone requirements pertaining to alterations to the existing dwelling, as well as the maximum size of the unit to be a bit more flexible. A summary of the public comments and staff's responses are included within the staff report, and we did receive supportive comments from all the applicable agencies. Staff are the opinion that the applications meet the overall intent of the official plan and are consistent with the provincial planning statement. And subject to hearing any additional comments from the public meeting tonight, we are recommending approval of the applications. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further, I'll just ask council, do you have any questions for staff at this time for clarification before we go into the public session? Seeing none, we'll go into the public meeting portion then. So first I will, just for the layout of the way we'll do it, first I'll go in chambers if someone wishes to speak to this item under the public meeting session. You can come forward to where staff were just sitting, use one of the mics, turn it on, and provide us with your information. And then I will go to the virtual audience. If you're in the virtual audience and you wish to speak this evening to this item, please use the raised hand feature so we know to bring you into the meeting. So I will go in chambers first. If there's anyone in chambers this evening that wishes to speak to this, please come forward. Seeing none, I will go to the virtual audience. If you're in the virtual audience and you wish to speak to this, please use the raised hand feature and we can bring you into the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone with their hand raised.
None? Okay, thank you. So that concludes and there are other items which we're going to have public speakers that are assigned to it. I believe that's what you're going, where you are. Sorry, I just wanted to, I just wanted to make sure that you're comfortable with the process we're going through. So with that, Council, Deputy Mayor Townend.
I move that the report from the Development Services Division dated October 28th, 2025, Republic Meeting and Recommendation Report, Official Plan Amendment D09001, 2025, and Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14003, 2025, additional residential units be received. 2, that the Township initiated Official Plan Amendment Application D09001, 2025 be approved, and that Bylaw 2025-61 be adopted. And 3, that the Township initiated Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application D14003, 2025 be approved, and that Bylaw 2025-62 be enacted and passed.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Willis. Comments from the mover? Seconder? Other members of council? Yes, Councillor Project.
Just a comment. I had a few calls on this, which tells me that there's interest. And again, the presentation the other night at the arena was a full house, it looked like to me. So hopefully this will allow us to meet some of the initiatives that we've already laid out.
Thank you. Any other comments? I will just say thank you to staff for all the hard work that was done on this. There's a lot of input, a lot of information to go through, and to bring this up to where we are right now. So thank you very much for doing that, and for all of the public that provided input so that we were able to had that to work with to be able to develop the very best process that we can, very best bylaws. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Now we're to open forum. 15 minutes of the meeting are set aside for open forum. Any individual may address council regarding an item on the agenda, excluding matters under the statutory public meetings section on the same agenda. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. We did not have anyone register in advance with the clerk's division. So I will again ask in chambers if anyone wishes to speak under open forum. And then I will go to the virtual audience. And if you're in the virtual audience and wish to speak under open forum, please be prepared to use the raised hand feature so we know to bring you into the meeting. So with that, I will go in chambers first, and you're a delegation, right? So that's still coming. Okay. So just hang tight. If there's anyone in chambers that wishes to speak under open forum, please come forward to one of the chairs and we can receive your information. Seeing none, I'll go to the virtual audience. If there's anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak under open forum, please use the raise hands feature and we can bring you into the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, there's no one in the virtual audience.
No one there. Very good. So that concludes open forum. Now we're to delegations. We did have 2. The first one was withdrawn. So Isabella Harpell, sorry. Going back to an old friend of mine with Harper, to address council regarding crosswalk in honor of Canada's veterans. If you could just sit at one of the mics, and the button on the right, you push it, it will light up, and that way the virtual audience can hear you as well. You got it, probably. That's it. Thank you.
So I would like to start off by thanking council for accepting my request to speak this evening on veterans crosswalks placement in Loyalist Township. The world wars are a part of our history, and the men and women that fought and died should be remembered, not only on November 11th, but through the year. Most of us in this room this evening have and had relatives and friends who were in the military, and we have heard of their horrific stories of war, the death and destruction. We know many young vets veterans who suffer from PTSD. Their suffering never ends. We need to demonstrate to our courageous veterans that they are deeply appreciated and will always be appreciated. From the research that I have completed just this past week, the City of Kingston will be placing the Veterans Crosswalks this year. They're starting them this year. Plus, there is a memorial wall being constructed as well. The cost of the crosswalks range around $3,000. I spoke with Napanee as well. No, correction, I called Napanee to get a response from them, but they did not respond back. Belleville, I spoke to Bill McDonald there. The cost for their crosswalks were $5,000 to $6,000. He couldn't remember exactly what it was. And they were constructed and painted just prior to November 11th. So it's still not too late to have them painted on the roads. And when I did research, there are many little hamlets that are now implementing this procedure of veteran crosswalks. Okay. I would just like to state at this time that we are open to any kind of arrangement. So if council cannot afford it this year, we can hopefully have it done in the spring. Belleville, their crosswalks were funded by charity groups, community groups. The City of Kingston, they purchase and the crosswalks themselves. They are maintaining the crosswalks for the next couple of years. Then they are hoping that funding will be done by the public. So basically, that's the information I have at this time. It's just that we need to honor and prioritize the men and women that have sacrificed the ultimate by giving their life. Freedom is not free. That's it.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the delegation this evening? Councilor Prager.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Isabel, for the presentation. I'm just wondering, have you had a chance to talk with the Legion here in Bath about plans and or, have them involved, I guess, in the process?
No, not at this time, just because the idea came to me late last week. So, but I will do research further if required.
Okay.
Why, do you know whether or not they're funding something like this or?
Yes.
Just for full disclosure, I'm a member and I can get you some contacts for people that you might give a call to that might help you out.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Being none, I would entertain a motion. Deputy Mayor?
Through your worship, I move to receive the presentation and to refer the issue to staff to review existing sidewalk replacement schedules and examine any other potential opportunities to install a veterans crosswalk in Loyalist Township.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? Councilor Willis? Any comments from the mover?
Just, I simply like to thank the presenter. I agree that, it's appropriate to remember the sacrifice of our armed services beyond the 11th. And we should try and do everything we can to honor the memory of their sacrifice and our duty to remember.
Thank you. Seconder? No comments? Any other comments from council? I'd just like to reiterate, thank you for coming forward and bringing this to us. And with that, I will call the question. All in favor? Motion has passed. Okay, items for consideration, 2025 Fall Strategic Plan Update. And just for the ones in the audience, you're welcome to stay for the entire meeting if you wish. Not everyone does want to do that. If you wish to leave, you feel free to exit and just do it quietly. We're going to go ahead with the meeting and we'll just carry on with our business, okay? Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Fall strategic plan update. Come,
Thank you, Your Worship.
please proceed.
I don't have anything to add other than what's in the staff report. I do want to just make note that there are a number of projects that were set 2 years ago now at the introduction of the strategic plan for 2023 to 2027 that have perhaps been delayed a little bit. Those are mainly because of staff being, I guess, seconded through the W.J. Henderson project and the fundraising campaign and a number of other projects that we're working on. So those are slightly delayed, but still are expected to be delivered before the end of this term of the strategic plan.
Thank you. Council? Are there any questions for clarification on the report? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer dated October 28th, 2025, read a 2025 Fall Strategic Plan update be received, and that council advise staff of any changes in priorities for the remainder of the term of the strategic plan.
So moved. Seconded by Councillor Ennis. Mover, any comments?
I just got to make one comment. As a former educator, it's great to see a report card that's up to date.
And you didn't have to do it, yes. Seconder, any comment? Other members of council? Call the question, all in favor? Motion is passed, thank you. Naming rights at W.J. Henderson Community Center. You thought you were getting out of it.
I apologize. I wasn't paying attention.
Is there any additional information on this?
No, not at this time. This is another exciting news story for our township and for the W.J. Henderson renewal revitalization campaign. Bar Homes has agreed to sign on and be a major donor in the Tier 3 category to name the aquatic center at the facility at the W.J. This is very great. We're very gracious and very thankful to Bar for stepping up and being part of this vital community project. And we're excited to be naming it and recommending that it be named the Bar Homes Aquatic Center.
Great, thank you. Council, we do have a recommendation. Would someone like to present a motion? Councillor Willis.
Thank you. I would move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer dated October 28th, 2025, renaming rights at the W.J. Henderson Community Center be received, and that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute a gift agreement with naming rights with Bar Homes for the naming of the aquatic center at the W.J. Henderson Community Center as detailed in the report.
So moved. Seconded by Councillor Ennis. Any comments from the mover?
None.
Seconder? Other members? Just thank you for the work that's been done, bringing these endorsements, naming rights from some of our community partners, and also thank you to the community partners that are stepping up and assisting us with funding the renewal of the recreation center. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund Transfer Payment Agreements. That seems like an awful mouthful tonight. Welcome. Did you have any additional information?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
Nothing to add? Council, if you're comfortable, we do have a recommendation. Would someone like to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that the report from the Corporate Services Strategy and Innovation Department dated October 28th, 2025, Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund transfer payment agreements be received, that the mayor and the CAO be authorized to execute the Stream 2 Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund transfer payment agreement for the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center renewal project, and that the mayor and the CAO be authorized to execute the Stream 1 Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund transfer payment agreement for the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center Arena renewal project once received, pending final terms that are acceptable to the CAO.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Townend? Mover, any comments? Seconder, other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Water bill forgiveness request. Welcome. Do you have any additional information other than what's in the report this evening?
Not at this time, Your Worship.
Thank you. Council, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Willis.
I move that the report from the Finance Department dated October 28th, 2025, water bill forgiveness request be received, and that council approve a request to waive the septic fee, the sewer fee, and forgive $2,000 of the remainder of the bill, and also forgive any penalties that have accrued because of the time that it's taken to bring this to council.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Broderick. Any comments from the mover?
I appreciate staff and the points that were raised in the report about setting precedent and things like that. I also cannot imagine opening a $9,000 water bill. And I think that, you know, we're here as counselors to use our judgment when we can.
You, seconder, any comments? Other members? Any comments or questions either? Councillor
Just a comment. I would support the motion. Simply put, the resident followed procedure, followed policy as best as they could, and in good faith. You know, this is one of those ones that I don't anticipate a plethora of big situations like this, but I think for the resident, you know, Councillor Willis said $9,000 would be a big penalty to pretty well everybody in the township.
Thank you. Any other comments, council? Being none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you. Bath Connecting Link Intake 11 Municipal Support for application. Welcome. Do you have any additional information besides what's in the report?
Nothing further, Your Worship.
Anything further? Council, we've got it before us. Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Ennis.
Move that the report from the Engineering and Environment Division dated October 28th, 2025, Bath Connecting Link Intake 11, municipal support for application be received, and 2, the Loyalist Township Council support an application to the Connecting Link funding program for the intersection upgrades to Bath Main Street and Windermere Boulevard construction project.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Town, any comments from the mover? Seconder? Other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Next up is Municipal Support Resolution Request, Bath Energy Storage Project. Welcome back. Do you have anything additional to share this evening besides what's in the report?
No, through your worship, nothing additional to share, just here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I meant to check with the clerk. Do we have this to show on the screen? Just reading it would be quite difficult. We'll just display it on the screen, and then if somebody, when someone is ready to make a motion, they don't have to read the whole thing. If they are going with the first portion, if they're going with the or, then it's a short statement. So with that, if there are questions for clarification, we can ask staff ahead of time. Otherwise, we do have a recommendation with a two-parter. There's an or. I would entertain a motion at this time from council. Councillor Willis Smith.
I move that the report from the Development Services Division, October 28th, 2025, municipal support resolution request, Bath Energy Storage Project be received, and that council not support the municipal support resolution request for the Bath Energy Storage Project.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? I'll a second time. Second for discussion, seconded by Deputy Mayor Town. Mover, any comments?
This is one of the projects that council declined to support 2 years ago in December 2023. To my knowledge, nothing's different. And so I don't see why we would support something that as a group we did not support 2 years ago.
Thank you. Seconder, any comments? Not at this time. Other members of council, any comments? Councillor Broderick?
I would be against the motion as presented by Councillor Willis. And I do believe that after our go around of 2023, we asked staff to develop a policy. And as far as in my judgment, this company has followed the policy and have done their best to involve the populace, including, reaching out beyond the limit of, I think they reached out a kilometer beyond the place. Again, I personally did not receive any calls against this or any community feedback in that sense, and I would just support, I would not support Councillor Willis's motion.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Councillor Ennis?
Just through the mayor, just to echo Councillor Broderick, some of Councillor Broderick's comments, that I think it's a different process this time around. It's a more robust process, and similar to Councillor Broderick, I didn't see anything in this report that would raise any red flags, nor did I hear any, receive any feedback from the community, negative feedback from the community.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? I might as well share my thoughts if council's done speaking, before it goes back to the mover for final. I'm not going to support the motion that's on the floor. I won't repeat everything Councillor Broderick said, but I agree with what he says. And the one big thing is we have a lot more information this time than we did before because of staff developing, I believe, that the checklist and all of the requirements before it comes back to council. We have more information, and there was a robust public engagement process that was followed as well. So I won't be supporting the motion as it's on the floor now. And back to mover for final. Call the question. All in favor of the motion on the floor? Opposed? Motion is lost. I would entertain a motion from council. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that the report from the Development Services Division dated October 28th, 2025, municipal support resolution request Bath Energy Storage Project be received, and that council adopt the following municipal support resolution as outlined in items 2 to 8 on the, I guess, in the agenda, in the minutes, or in the agenda,
And as was displayed on the screen.
and was displayed on the screen.
Thank you. So moved, seconded by Councillor Budrich. Any comments from the mover?
No, Your Worship.
Seconder, any comments?
Yes, I just like the fact that this is a company that has invested in our municipality before and has had successes in our municipality, and they're still willing to look at us as a good place to try and do business.
Thank you. Any other member wish to speak? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is passed. Stop sign bylaw update is next. Welcome. Do you have any additional information besides what's in the report?
Nothing further, just questions.
Questions? Council, we have the report before us. Would someone like to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Willis.
I move that the report from the Public Works Division dated October 28th, 2025, re-stop sign bylaw update be received, and that council enact bylaw 2025-63, a bylaw to provide for the placement of stop signs in Loyalist Township, and repeal bylaw 2013-013.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Town. Any comments from the mover? Seconder? Other members of council? I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. And now we would entertain a motion for council to now resolve into committee of the whole. Deputy Mayor, so moved, seconded by Councillor Budrich. All in favor? Motion is.
It's a pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Items for consideration, 13.4, transit level of service considerations. Over to you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I do have a presentation that the clerk is just going to set up. Thank you. So for the report, just a quick presentation that will go through the following items that are on the overview screen here. So in 2023, Loyalist Township participated with the City of Kingston, Gananoque, and South Frontenac to review rural and last mile urban levels of service. And two design alternatives were proposed in this report. One which included new rural routes and another to extend the Route 10. The study identified the opportunity to shift the level of service to a more regional commuter function by providing service to Bath and Odessa, and to directly connect employment lands to other communities in the township and the city of Kingston. It did denote moderate fare recovery, which would result in the need for other funding supports, which will be further reviewed later in the presentation. This study precipitated the launch of the Loyalist Link pilot program, which began operation in November 2024 and was supported by the province's community transportation funding through the County of Lennox and Addington. And council provided direction to continue the pilot to the end of 2025 using a combination of housing accelerator funding and provincial gas tax funding. The purpose of the project is to provide connections between Amherst, Bath, and Odessa, as well as to employment lands and a link to the city of Kingston. The chart in this slide denotes the Loyalist Link monthly ridership. It is updated since the report was published. Excuse me. We did receive updated ridership data for August and September earlier this week. So you can see initially in the beginning of the project, the teal line is the total ridership for both the 90A and 90B routes. So we were seeing about 900 to 1,100 riders per month in the first 5 months. We did experience decreased ridership in June, July, and August, which we anecdotally can attribute to decreased number of riders traveling to and from school, and also reduced industrial shifts at one of our major employers. And then you can see that the ridership numbers are trending back up in September. We have yet to receive any ridership numbers for October. The Route 10 service has been operated by Kingston Transit in partnership with the township for decades. It currently operates on a 1-hour frequency and connects Amherst View to the city of Kingston, terminating at the Cataraqui Center, where connections to the Kingston Transit system, including their express routes, are available. There is a recommendation or an indication for the need of increased frequency on this route, which is indicated by ridership, which I will discuss on the next slide, which currently exceeds Ontario's guideline threshold of annual ridership, where ridership above 100,000 riders per year is recommended to increase to 30-minute frequency, and also through reports of frequent full buses and delays to the service, sometimes at peak times. So these two charts summarize the monthly ridership since 2016 in the scatter plot graph, and then the annual ridership in the bar graph. We're seeing ongoing recovery on the Route 10 since the COVID-19 pandemic. And this year in 2025, we're projecting 11.5% above 2024 levels of ridership, for a total ridership of over 160,000 riders in 2025. A little bit of information on fare trends on this slide. So we're seeing that the monthly passes have gained popularity, especially among students and commuters. So we're seeing a lot of growth in the multi-ride cards and a decline in cash fares. Just a slide here on the importance of transit. So transit enables seniors to maintain independence, access to healthcare, and participate in community life without relying on personal vehicles. In Loyalist Township, over 22% of residents are age 65 and older, which is well above the provincial average. And many seniors live independently in a variety of the communities in the township and rely on transit to reach things like healthcare, groceries, social activities. It also improves access to employment and education by connecting residents to jobs, schools, and training opportunities in nearby urban centers such as the city of Kingston, and our communities as well for jobs. and reducing barriers to economic mobility. Transit reduces traffic and environmental impact. So we can reduce the number of single occupancy vehicles on our roads, which helps to ease congestion, such as that experienced on Highway 33 during peak times, and supports our climate goals as outlined in the Resilient Loyalist Climate Action Plan, and is also a key tool in lowering emissions and promoting sustainable growth. Transit offers affordable mobility options for low-income residents, youth, and people with disabilities, and fosters a more inclusive community. It ensures mobility for residents who don't drive, whether that's due to age, disability, or income. It strengthens local economies by providing access to local businesses in the various communities and making these areas more attractive for investment and development. And it enhances community connectivity. So the transit service connects Bath, Odessa, Millhaven, and Amherstview to each other and to Kingston, creating a vital regional corridor. And this connectivity will be even more important when the revitalized W.J. Henderson Recreation Center opens in Amherstview, or reopens the whole thing, the pool included, in Amherstview. And public transit will ensure equitable access to this regional hub for recreation, wellness, and community events. So this slide is summarizes some of the potential impacts on taxpayers if the transit service is enhanced. So currently, and projecting into the future in the options I'm going to speak about in a minute, our fare revenues cover about 15% of the expenses of the transit system. With that, we have other funding programs such as the provincial gas tax, which provides, again, approximately 15% of funds approximately 15% of expenses. So those two things together are total 30%. And then additional other funding, such as funding from other levels of government, which we've been able to access in recently. And taxpayers are responsible for the remaining expenses. So currently, the Amherstview Transit Area Rate is currently employed to collect those taxes that go toward the transit system. So the provincial gas tax is a formula-based funding program which provides funding based on ridership and population. Our funding was frozen in 2024-2025 year based on previous year ridership. So if the province moves back to their formula-based calculation, there's the opportunity by adding ridership and population in the Bath and Odessa areas to collect approximately an estimated additional $45,000 worth of revenue and an extra $15,000 in funding due to the increased ridership on Route 10. And those increases would be projected to continue as ridership and population continue to increase. The other opportunity that is currently available is the Ontario Transit Investment Fund. This is a provincial funding program where the objective is to address transit service gaps across Ontario by creating sustainable transit services through the formation of strong partnerships and integration with existing services. So OTIF provides time-limited, so 5-year maximum application-based funding to support the startup and growth of transit services in areas where there's a clearly identified transit service gap. It prioritizes new transit services to close gaps, including route expansions and first mile, last mile connectivity. Staff is recommending in the options that will be discussed in a moment, an application to OTIF, which would result in a transition to 30-minute frequency for the Route 10 service, new connections between Amherstview, Odessa, and Bath, and the transition to on-demand service later in the funding period. So this is a summary of the first option, expenses, projected expenses and revenues. So this option includes an application to the province that would be successful under the OTIF program. It proposes to include service from April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2031 in this application, resulting in a total funding request of 2.155 million over the 5-year program, or 49.8% of the costs associated with the expanded levels of service over that time frame. This scenario also includes, as I said, increasing the frequency of the Route 10 service to 30 minutes in July of 2026. It includes all accessible transit service in the areas included in the transit service area. It has increasing fare revenues that are aligned with ridership growth and service enhancements. And the proposed transition to on-demand service in 2027 with 12 hours of service on weekdays, 10 hours of service on Saturdays, and 8 hours of service on Sundays. Funding this option requires a 10% increase to the transit area rate per year commencing in 2027 and continuing until 2031. And it would require the phased implementation of the transit area rate in the urban areas of Bath and Odessa, starting with 20% of the rate in 2027, 40% in 2028, up to 100% in 2031. It also assumes the use of Housing Accelerator Fund to support the pilot system until OTIF funding would commence in April of 2026. So this would result in an increase in the transit rate projected from approximately $155 annually for a home with the township's average assessed value currently to $250 annually at the end of the period, or an estimated approximately $19 per year for each of the 5 years. The next option, the next option would result from the township being unsuccessful in its application to OTIF. So many of the considerations for the level of service could be similar, but the impact to the taxpayer would be significantly more than in option 1. So in this scenario, the on-demand service that's proposed would be reduced to 12 hours a day on weekdays only. It would result in a 10% increase to the transit area rate per year commencing in 2026 instead of commencing in 2027. And the phased implementation of the transit area rate in Bath and Odessa would also require to commence in 2026 at 33%, and then 67% in 2027 and 100% in 2028. So the ultimate transit area rate ends up being only slightly higher at $270 annually projected for the average assessment. But the increases are front-loaded, resulting in higher payments for taxpayers over the 5 years because the increases happen sooner in the period. Great. And then the last option is does not include funding under the OTIF program, and it does not include any service outside of Amherst View starting January 1st, 2026. So it looks at increasing the frequency of the Route 10, again in July of 2026, and providing accessible transit services to Amherst View only. This would require a 25% increase to the transit area rate in 2026, 15% increase in each of 2027 and 2028, and then a 10% increase per year thereafter until 2031. And for this option, the final projected transit area rate in 2031 is much higher at an estimated $335 per year annually for the average assessment. and is heavily front-loaded. So some of the risks and stakeholder implications, so obviously if the township's application to OTIF was denied, that would impact the resultant financial impacts, or sorry, the resulted financial requirements for township residents. If the frequency of Route 10 isn't increased to provide services, it would result in gaps in transit service, which would also result from failing to provide service to the urban centers of Bath and Odessa. However, some residents of these urban centers may obviously be displeased with the inclusion of new or increased area rates to support the transit service. And the revenue projections associated with provincial gas tax funding or fares have been calculated with purposeful conservatism, but there is a risk that fare revenues could be less than estimated or that the provincial gas tax funding could be reduced or removed, placing the sustainability of the system at significant risk. So there was a public engagement consultation that was undertaken. We had 11 surveys completed, and the bulk of users reported relying less on family or friends for rides, using public transit more often, and feeling more independent. There's also a chart there that indicates purpose of travel from the respondents and some testimonials from some of those members of the public as well. So staff has provided a recommendation in the report that councils support the proposed transit service plan as identified in option 1 for inclusion in the 2026 budget, subject to grant funding, and that council authorize staff to make application to the Ontario Transit Investment Fund to support the enhancements included in option 1. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Questions? Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a general question, and I know this isn't until 2027, but I'm trying to wrap my head around what is transit on demand to the person in, let's say, Odessa or wherever. What does that look like?
Thank you for the question. So on-demand transit would be where there would be the option for people to indicate when they would like to go somewhere, and the vehicle to take them there would show up, you know, maybe not at the exact time, but within a given amount of time to take them there. So it would eliminate the bus traveling on a specific route and would tie more to people, the vehicles traveling only when people are looking for that service. So there are, you know, synergies and savings associated with that. So we are proposing to look at transitioning to that model and away from a traditional route for the Odessa and Bath and employment lands areas in 2027.
Okay, thank you. And I forgot to thank you for the report, so forgive me. Having said that, I understand it now, but so there wouldn't be technically routes at certain times of the day. So like if I lived on somewhere that isn't near a stop now, I would get a direct, you know, to use an analogy, almost like owning a cab, and they'd show up at my house and take me somewhere within to the WJ or wherever those transfer sites are. Is that sort of what I'm looking at?
So through the chair, sort of. So it wouldn't come to your house necessarily. It might arrive at a stop near your house. And it would be done through either an app or possibly a number that you could call to sort of book a ride. So sort of like a taxi, but you would still likely be going to a stop to be picked up, and it wouldn't be arriving at your house.
Councilor Broderick.
Through the chair, just looking at option one, and I'm definitely for this, there's no question about that. But I noticed like right currently, Amherst taxpayers have a small levy on their yearly taxes that helps fund the bus. And I'm looking at the addition later, for Odessa and Bath. And I was just curious as to the accelerated, budgeting for Bath in consideration or, different to Odessa. So in 2 years, Bath starts at $70,000 and in 5 years goes up to a little over $500,000. And Odessa goes from $25,000 after 5 years, only 187. I see one escalating quite faster than the other. Is there some ridership issues that we've kind of seen that would drive that?
Thank you, Councillor Budrick, through the chair. It's based on it's based on the total estimated assessed value of the area. So the urban area of Odessa has, sorry, I don't have the numbers, but which one was higher? Sorry. The urban area of Bath, the assessment that is applied to all of those houses in that area is significantly higher than the total assessed value in Odessa.
Other questions? What are the committee's wishes? Councillor Broderick.
I'd be prepared to make a recommendation, Mr. Chair, if that be in order. I would recommend that the report from the Corporate Services Strategy and Innovation Department dated October 28th, 2025, extension of Loyalist Link Transit be received, and that council support the proposed transit service plan as identified in option 1 for inclusion in the 2026 budget, subject to grant funding, and that council authorize staff to make an application to the Ontario Transit Investment Fund to support the enhancements included in option 1.
So moved. Is there a seconder? Councillor Budrick. Mover, comments?
Briefly, Mr. Chair, you know, I think in terms of the original, I guess, project and the survey, maybe the interaction of different regional partners, that some areas it's fallen by the wayside. And I think it's important here to think beyond 1 year or 2 years, because you can't develop any kind of consistent program or policies. And I think that's important that we look beyond, you know, the short term. A couple of things. This would support our additional residential units because you're going to get people moving into these units who probably don't own cars in a sense. And anecdotally, I can tell you, there are certain places in Amherst at certain times of the day where the St. Lawrence and Queens students are lined up to get on the bus. And that allows them to stay at home and maybe be financially able to go to a post-secondary. I know that the program that came out when high schools got bus passes is very successful for the high schools and allows kids to participate in extracurriculars that they may not be able to because of, you know, lack of transportation, et cetera. So, you know, in my way of thinking, this goes beyond transit, and I think it's well worth the inclusion in the budget and moving ahead to look at it again. Maybe the next council, you know, can look at it and come up with different theories. And I do think the half-hour Route 10 is very important because it's now getting to the point where, you know, if you're connecting from, let's say, the other Loyalist Link routes, if you know, I know they're supposed to match up perfectly, but if you miss one, then you're looking at an hour. So I do think that's, as it meets the 100,000 threshold, as you said, I think that's important that we look at that too. Thank you.
Seconder. Anyone else? Mr. Mayor.
I'm going to support the motion. For one thing, seeing the numbers, actually seeing the charts with the ridership is very encouraging. For a new system to be put in place and have the ridership that's there. I know in talking to other mayors or staff from other municipalities, they're kind of in awe of how well this has turned out. So that's very impressive in itself. And of course, with that ridership means, as was mentioned before, the independence for people and also quality of life. They don't have to wait for a relative to take them somewhere. They can go on their own. And also, it really opens up Loyalist Township for more employment as well, because we have businesses that have been needing a transit to be able to get enough employees to be able to keep the shifts going. And now the opportunity is there for those businesses to thrive. So I think that's very important. And just in the growth throughout the township, there's been a lot of recent plans that have been approved for subdivisions. There's neighborhood plans that are in the works right now. As those are built out, the need for this is just going to grow. So we'll be ready for it when it happens. And I have heard pretty significant concerns about Route 10 buses being full, as was mentioned. If it's full, you've got an hour's wait, and now you're an hour late for work. So this should alleviate a lot of the concerns that I've heard. So I'm impressed and pleased to see that move forward. Thank you.
Anything else? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Can I get a motion to adjourn from Committee of the Whole? Councillor Broderick, seconded by Councillor Willis. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We're adjourned at 7:02. I would move to extract 15.3.
Thank you. Any other items to be extracted? None? Entertain a motion for the remainder of the items. Councillor Broderick.
Worship, I would move that all items save item 15.3 in the consent agenda dated October 28th, 2025 be approved as presented and necessary action be taken.
So moved. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Town. Any comments from anyone? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Going back to 15.3.
Understood the CIO wanted to speak
Did
to it.
the CIO wish to speak to this?
Certainly, thank you for letting me speak to this. Unfortunately, I had to miss the fundraising committee meeting last week due to a conference, and so I wasn't there to speak to this motion. But the motion the committee put forward is already covered in our existing policies that council adopted last year. So we have an asset naming policy, which essentially allows for the naming of our assets based on specific criteria in there. Let me just find the section. It does have to be read, however, in conjunction with the sponsorship and naming rights policy. So the asset naming policy talks about commemorative names to be named after a person, event, lots of reasons. I'm just pulling it up here. An asset name which commemorates a person or group of people, tradition or tradition bearers, a historic event, diverse communities, topographic feature, natural native flora or fauna. So if council wishes to do a commemorative name, which is essentially an in perpetuity or a permanent name for an asset after something, you're allowed to. It is in conjunction with the sponsorship and naming rights policy. So the asset naming policy says that we won't do a commemorative name if council has approved it being on the list of an asset that can have a naming right, i.e. can be a sold sponsorship and naming rights. But the policy allows council to remove amenities, features, facilities from that list that's going to be named. So the existing policy, I believe, have a process in place by which council can decide whether to name something in perpetuity or use it for just the naming rights policy. The asset naming policy does talk about the general requirements, the preferences for someone who is retired or deceased, need approval for that commemorative name. It is to commemorate a significant contribution to the community, international recognition, someone with a strong image in the municipality, historic groups of people, contributions related to that specific asset. So there are some criteria in the asset naming policy, but I believe the existing policies already allow for that. So if someone wanted to propose that one of the and I believe this has come because I think somebody wants to name a feature in the WJ in perpetuity after someone and to recognize their contribution to that facility or in our community. That is certainly available to council under the existing policy. So I do not believe a review is required.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Broderick?
If I can just make a comment, because again, I know the CEO wasn't at the meeting, but it's good to hear that, there's a way, I guess, the way around it in a sense, but I think the big concern at the time, or at least in the meeting, was a person maybe, put forward a room in memory of X or Y. And I guess the concern was, do you have to go back to them in 5 years? I'm guessing, given what you've said, then that could be a decision down the road to say, we are going to in perpetuity name this room after X or Y, whoever they may be. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I believe it is.
Any other questions for the CAO, the clarification at this time? Being none, I would entertain a motion. Deputy Mayor Townend?
If it's in order, Your Worship, I would just move to receive the minutes.
Move to receive. Seconded by Councilor Budrick. Any comments from the mover, seconder, other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you for that information. Okay, that completes that. Announcements. Are there any announcements this evening to be shared? Councilor Budrick?
Just to announce the passing of Andrew Morrison. Grew up in Amherstview, recently lived in Ottawa. His mother still lives here, died very young at 54, and leaves a lot of family behind, which is very unfortunate, but that's all.
Thank you. Any other announcements this evening? If not, I have a couple that I'm just going to bring up. One was, we had trunk or treat Sunday. Trying to remember which day this is. It was very well attended. The estimate that we received from the OPP was that there were between 5,000 and 5,500 people that went through working the booths. I believe that number. And I want to appreciate council that Councillor Willis, the Deputy Mayor Townend, Councillor Broderick were certainly a big support for us handing out candy, and Councillor Broderick was was floating around. You had 3 duties, I believe it was, while you were there, so you were a busy person as well. It was a great event, well attended, and a lot of booths, very good booths set up with community partners that step up every single time for an event for the community. And so I really want to thank them for being there as well. I don't know the exact number of how many were set up, but the property was full. So everyone had lots of choices of lots of candy or trinkets or be educated by people like our paramedics, our firefighters and the OPP. So I just wanted to thank everyone that took part in that. And the other is to send our condolences to the family of Clayton McEwen. Clayton is a long time serving, he was Reeve for many years on council and then Reeve for many years for Loyalist. And he was also warden for Lennox and Addington County 5 times, which is pretty amazing as well. And all of, no matter, I started working with him on the Police Services Board 25 years ago. So he did a lot for the community through the township and through the county, but he did a lot for the community outside of that as well. He was very engaged, very active in the community, and he supported the community very well. So I just wanted to bring that forward, and condolences to Harleen and the family on his passing. With that, if no one else has anything, Deputy Mayor Town.
I would move that bylaw 2025-64 to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Loyalist Township be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ennis. All in favor? Motion has passed. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Town, Councillor Budrick, all in favor? Motion has passed. We are adjourned.